So there's 5 keys to real estate we're going to talk about tonight, right? It's the mindset, right? Then we're going to talk about the math. When I say the math, I'm talking about how do you know if it's a good deal or not, right? Then we're going to talk about the manpower. What kind of team you're going to need in place, right? Then we're going to talk about the money. How do I get this deal funded? And then finally, we're going to talk about the management. After I get a tenant, after I get the money, after I get the house, how do I keep it profitable over time, right? So we're going to dive right into it. Pastor Nelson, let's talk about the mindset you need to really get in this game.
Well, you got to be able to give. I just want to say I did give your organization. I wrote a check. My wife have it for you for $150.
Thank you.
And make sure you catch it first thing in the morning, cause before it bounces, you know what I'm saying? In order to be an investor, you got to understand the mindset of delayed gratification. I'm gonna say it again, delayed gratification. And that's the key to get in the game. I heard this analogy, which is a good analogy. It talked about 3 islands, and it talked about the island of reality, and it talks about the island of paradise, and then it talked about Dream Island. But the reality island, it just indicates your reality right now, where you are in life, financially, mentally, socially, wherever. But you want to get from this reality island over to this paradise. And in order to get from reality to the paradise island, you got to build a bridge. In anything you do, you got to build a bridge. If you want to be in wholesaling, if you want to be a long-term investor, if you want to be in Airbnb, if you want to own any kind of business, you got to build the bridge. Many times people will build a bridge from reality island, and they'll get halfway to paradise. And they see how long it takes and how much work is into it, and then they stop building. Then they start building a bridge, another bridge, and another bridge. And now they got dozens of bridges that are going nowhere.
Wow.
But once you learn how to build that bridge over to Paradise Island, now you can build that bridge over to other islands. I'm trying to go somewhere with this. What I'm trying to say is sometimes you ask God just to be able to have a job and a little extra. So you went from your reality to the paradise. But then you get to the point you want to ask God to just give you enough money that you can just go on vacation anytime you want to. Now you don't went from your reality or your paradise to your dream. Now you ask God, can you give me enough money just to make it through the year? Now God is blessing you enough money. You make more money per month than you make when you made the whole year. And so, but you got to build the bridge and don't quit. Now, how do you do that? You got to find your why. Why are you here? You got to find out what make you tick and what make you top. If he's an analysis for the bank, if I'm looking at a lot of numbers, I'm going to sleep. That's not a good fit for me. And he makes a good income. If Dre's a motivational speaker and doing great things, if I don't like traveling, that may not be a thing for me. I need to know all the pros and the cons of it and see does it fit me. So my whole point today, when you watch all these gurus and they want you to charge you $2,000 and $5,000, find out what makes you tick, what you love. My mom used to always say, if you're doing something you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And you find out what you love first. Then you do your research and find out what makes you tick and talk. And then you get into it. But if you don't have delayed gratification, if you want to get in this thing and say, I want to flip a house, I want you to know, boo-boo, you can't get flopped.
So Pastor Nelson, the mindset is one of having a mind that is one of delayed gratification, not short term, but like a long term type mindset. Or like in the words of Nipsey Hussle, he said, play the long game.
You got to begin with the end in mind.
So Tom, from a banker's perspective, what kind of mindset would you tell an investor they need to have before they make that first investment?
Well, I can't be quite so eloquent as Pastor Nelson, but I'll tell you one thing that I see a lot of is you need to think about building wealth, not buying stuff.
It's after you got the assets working for you. Now we're going into the second question, the math. How do you know if it's a good deal or not? So you got house A, you got house B, right? You're riding along the street, and how do you know which one to invest in? Financially, how do you know?
Yeah, I want to back up one on that. I love what you're saying about that. You won't get a chance to do the math if you don't plant seeds. See, people see what I'm doing now, and a couple of years ago, one of my property managers, like, put the houses on Facebook. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that because I didn't want somebody asking for donations. But I had to say the word no. And what I'm saying to you, you may get some money here and there, but you say, I need that big car. It may not be time. You got to tell yourself no. And so what I've learned now, when people see me out, I stop at a gas station. I want to learn about real estate. I get inboxes. And I was doing it at a higher level 10 years ago. But I got a lot of stuff paid off now, and I can do things. But this is the thing, right, I'm trying to say to all of you all, is that I planted a seed. What you see now is trees. But until you plant that seed and let God add the water and sunshine to it, and you tend to it, you're not going to get to the trees. Now, once you do that, you can do math and get to your other areas of your life. But when I see a deal, you got to be able to analyze a deal. Now, when you analyze a deal, first off, you have to analyze the property. So when I walk in, I look at 5 things. I look at the foundation. I look at the roof. I look at the water and mold, see if there's water and mold. That's number 3. And I look at the plumbing and electrical. Well, Picasso, you don't know how to do plumbing. I don't. But if I go over there and I turn that switch on and water come out, the water works. If I go over there and flush the toilet works. You see what I'm saying? If I go over and hit the light switch, see, you don't have to know everything. If you have to know everything, you'll never get in this business. And what I'm saying to you, I'm the type of person now, Dre, I jump out the airplane and I worry about the parachute as I'm on my way down. And what I'm saying, I know that's a bad analogy, but what I'm saying is once you understand the basic concepts of something, it's time to start digging. And going to all these seminars, reading all these books, and you're not taking action, once you are able to understand those 5 things, when I walk in and look at a roof, if I don't see water spots, more than likely it's not a leak. When I walk in that foundation it's level, I'm not tripping and falling over myself, it's level enough. You understand what I'm saying? If I can turn on the switch, so you don't have to be a rocket scientist, just have basic concepts. So once you analyze the property, then you got to know what is an AVR, right. After value repair. I want to know, okay, every market is its market. You buy a house in Meridian that's worth 80, it may be worth 30 in Hattiesburg. You buy a house in Jackson that's 120, it may be, 50 in Bassfield. So you got to know your market, because see what you do, you think about New York and other places, learn your market. What is the market value for this type of house in this type of area? And then one thing, once you understand that, you also understand that when I drive down the street, I don't buy nothing I won't live on. When I drive down that street, would I live on this street? That's just, mama say, do unto others as you want them to do unto you. And you learn those concepts, then you got basic concepts that you can apply and use. And then I know my market. If I'm in South Jackson, if I'm in Hattiesburg, if I'm in Petal, I know my market. And you can easily Google some of that stuff. You might want to Google twice and call somebody in this market, but it's inflated. But that's you have to analyze the deal, know the market, and then the repairs. You need to know what a bucket of paint costs. You need to know the average in this area, how much it costs to paint a house. Then you need to know if it's some holes in the wall. So basic. How do I learn that? I joined a local rig group. That's a real estate group.
Wait, let me slow you down real quick. 'Cause Picasso been doing this so long. I have to remind him, he's at a master's level with a lot of this stuff. I said, man, we got to come back. This guy done over $12 million in real estate deals, probably more than that. But so I want to slow him down. So what's a quick rule of thumb that a person can do to analyze it? I heard you say the foundation, the roof, and the electrical and the plumbing and all of those things. And you say they don't have to necessarily be skilled in any of those things themselves. But what's a good rule of thumb that you would tell somebody like real quick to make a quick assessment on the house?
Well, I've done it so long. Like I said, you walk in, you see the foundation. If it's warped, you need to get someone else to see it. When I walk in the house, the foundation messed up, I walk straight on out. I don't deal with that kind of stuff, So those 5 things are going to cost you the most money. So you need to know that, because those are the most cost-effective things. The paint, the cabinets, and all that, that's putting lipstick on a pig. We're going to make it work. But you need to know what's going to cause me the most monteys, what's going to hurt me. And you may find a deal that's not a money maker, but a money pit. And so you need to know that. So you really want to be in something. If you're buying it at 30% of the appraised value, then I know.
One more time. You say 30% at the appraised value?
Well, what I'm saying, I'm looking at a property now. I know in this neighborhood, when this thing, after it's repaired, after value repair, right, it's going to be worth $100,000.
Okay.
Just say $80,000.
Okay.
So if somebody going to offer me this deal for 30, and I go and look at my estimates, so it's going to run about 20,000 repairs.
Okay.
I'm in it for 50.
So you all in for 50 now?
I'm good.
Okay.
And
But
then
it's
my
gonna
rent
appraise for 80.
80. Right. And I can go to my man right here and get my money back because I'm in it for less than 80%. Now I done that math in my head and my rent, all that, and just from my experience. But you got to get that experience. How do you get it? You join a group, a local real estate group. Somebody gonna pour into you so you can learn your market, because each market is different.
Are there any local real estate groups here in Hattiesburg for a person to get in?
Yeah, I don't recommend one, but
Okay. Which one would you recommend?
I tell you this right here. I was just joking about Hattiesburg. I don't recommend many of them because they'll get you in there and they know that you're a new booty. That's the wrong word. I'm sorry. But they know that you're a newbie. I forgot we was in church. But they gonna try to sell you some wolf tickets. Okay. So what I'm saying, any group around Hattiesburg, Jackson, whatever, go there, but don't buy nothing. Sit back and absorb and find that mentor that's willing to pour into you. Okay. Now, how do you find a mentor? We talked about that yesterday. When you move a lot of properties, I moved a lot of properties over these years. I get so many requests, and I don't know, and I heard you say this word, when people come around, I don't know if you're trying to pick my mind or pick my pocket. And so if you go to that mentor and say, man, look, what do you do on a daily basis? And in fact, when you go to them, say, what is the most grimiest thing that you do that you don't want to do? How can I help out? Now you bring in value to him. Because he done heard all this, giving me. And see, you waste a lot of time with people, because I mentor people who had money and never did nothing because of fear. And so I want to help somebody that's going to help themselves.
So Pastor Nelson, thank you for that. Now I'm gonna come over here to the banker. Deal analyzation. What's the right math on a property? Picasso kind of gave us a big kind of view of the 80% rule. What would you say from a banker's perspective?
That would be like, and we come from kind of two different sides of the coin, so to speak, in the sense that in the flip world, it's certainly different than what a bank generally does. Generally, banks don't do flips. Hey, I'm buying this property, give me the money to buy it, give me some money to fix it up, and it's going to be worth this, because there's too much risk for a bank in that. We do mostly rentals. But to his point, we do allow people to do that with properties that are already paid for and it can generate income. Now, that's easy for us to do, obviously. But as far as a rental property goes, and a lot of it's, it's on, what's your expectations? And I've banked a lot of people. I've been banking 31 years. And so I've never done what this man's done. But I see a lot of people have done. I've seen the good and bad.
Let's analyze a deal real quick.
All right.
Because what I'm hearing, that just because a house is cheap doesn't mean it's a good deal. You find a house $10,000 over in some sketchy part of town, and you think, this is going to be a good investment. But you can find out, I heard Pastor Nelson say, it could be a money pit. You might end up spending more than the house is going to actually bring in. So let's say there's a house. Let's just use even numbers, right? Let's just go with the scenario you said. There's a house for $30,000. So if you're listening online, you're listening here, just kind of write this math down. We're gonna break down the deal. There's a purchase price, right? There's remodel cost, and then there's your all-in cost. What I purchased the house for, that's purchase price. That's $30,000.
Right.
Then there's a remodel cost. You say it's going to cost you $20,000.
Right.
Now I'm all in for $50,000. Now ARV, after repair value. So if I'm all in for $50,000, Now my ARV, that's what the house is going to appraise for after the repairs. And you said that would be 80,000?
80,000.
80. So now how much could you get from the bank on this deal that we just
80% of 80,000.
So 80%, what
Let's
is
go
that?
with 60. I just for math.
So you can go to the bank and get 60,000.
Get your additional 10 in your pocket.
So
But I don't recommend that.
so let me say, so just for this scenario here,
Right.
he spent 50,000 out of pocket, went to the bank and got a loan for 80% of the new value of that house. The difference between the 80% that he got from the bank is a $10,000 difference. He just created $10,000 out of thin air because he only started out with 50. Now he has 60. He take that 60, pay the bank that 50. Now he got 10,000 in his pocket, just like that, out of thin air. Right? So that's kind of the simple math of what we're talking about here, right? And so, and let me say one more thing. Well, I like to point this out to Picasso. See, he said what we're seeing now in his landscape is trees from seeds he planted years ago. He has a lot of his property paid off. So you can go to any bank in the world and they're going to lend you the money. In fact, they're going to be trying to give you the money because why? That property is paid off. He don't owe any money on it. So it's sitting there. It's like a cash machine. Every time that tenant pays rent, that goes straight to his pocket. So the bank said, well, he's no risk to us. Lend him some money. Give him as much as he wants. As long as these properties can back up the money that we're lending him. Now, in most cases, most people are not in that predicament when the properties are paid off. And that's what Tom was talking about, that if you have to finance over a long period of time, they don't recommend that. Now, I'll just say this. I financed on a 20-year term, 20-year AM with like a 5-year balloon. What does that mean?
That's bad business.
Yeah. So I've done that. I've done it. But I understood my numbers. And I knew that eventually I was going to refi that and pay it off earlier. Now, that's kind of when you've been in the game a while, and you know, you say you learn the rules and then you learn them, then you can bend the rules a little bit, right? But you can't do that unless you learn the basics first. Does that make sense? So I just wanted to kind of set the stage on the deal that we were talking about up here. Now I'm going to go into the next question.
Let me clear it up.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
So basically, if I got a property for 50,
I pay $50,000 cash for a property, and I go to Mr. Tom, and he refinances it for $60,000.
I got 10,000 in my pocket because I already spent 50. That makes sense to you? And then my bank note is whatever, but I got cash flow. If I'm making on the average $1,100 a property, but if my note's $700, I got $400 cash flow. Now, what I recommend is if you get it for 50, don't take the 60. But if you knew, you may need that little cushion. I'm not saying, but I'm saying later on when you have some trees, you just, you out there just, and you can do different things. So that's the key. But if you, any way you can, my thing is delayed gratification. Don't leave your day job. Let it build. Don't live off the money if you can. If you still got your health and strength. But if you start mooching off the money, now you're going to have it on a 10-year note with a 3-year AM, and you're not paying most of the principals. All of my notes, I do 5-year fix. Now, in bigger cities, if the house, I be seeing guys, Mississippi, Alabama, Texas is one of the best places for rentals. And the reason why I say that, I see guys in Phoenix, I found this rental. It was $230,000. I found a deal. Well, for him, the cash flow, he got it on a 30-year fixed note. And then when you do a 5-year fix, and some banks will do 7, not a lot of them, you're knocking a lot of principal. The note is higher, but
I've been a pastor for 7 years.
5 years have passed in a long time. I mean, easy, if you're healthy. But my point being is, that wasn't funny.
Now, let me say, I keep pointing this out to him. What he's talking about, he's years in the game. Most people coming into the game is not where he is. So now going into the manpower, what kind of relationships does a new investor need, or even a seasoned investor need, to be successful in this game? What kind of relationships? What manpower they need?
Oh my God, that's the most important thing. A lot of newbies want to jump in, and I got some stocks or whatever, they pull money down and buy 5 or 6 rentals, and you really are just shooting yourself in the foot, because number one, you need a contractor, and if he know that you don't know, it's on and popping. They always say you don't have to be a crook,
Rip you off.
but you need to know the crook, so a crook won't crook you. And when they hear that season, that milk around your eyes, they see all that, I'm just telling you how the game works. So you got to have a good contractor, and you hold them accountable, because when I have a contractor come to a house, I know how long it takes. One guy told me one time, I knew it'd take about a week and a half. It'd take about a month. Fired. Because I know this game. You're like, you ain't gonna tie my property up and then go around and work on everybody else's stuff and tie 15 deals up. So you need to know contractors. You need somebody gonna get in there with their elbows and their knees and working. And I go by each property at 3 o'clock. I leave this church, and if it's a property around here, if it's one of my properties in Jackson, on my lunch break, Jackson State, I come by and look at my property. You got to be visible.
Let me on the contractor thing. One thing you'll appreciate, I know you'll appreciate, somebody that's licensed and bonded.
Yeah.
Which means if they screw up, something happens, you can call the bond and you get that job done. Because if they're not licensed, bonded, number one, they're no good. Right. Because being bonded, somebody else is already doing a little bit of risk taking for you. They're looking at this guy and looking at what he does, and that way you've got some recourse against him. Anyway, I'm sorry
so don't let Uncle Pookie Boy work on your property, because he gonna give you a good deal for a pack of cigarettes in a 6-pack. you gonna end up spending more money on that deal than you planned on it.
Yeah, when you get a contractor, get somebody got their own truck, their own tools, all that running somebody to Lowe's. You don't have time for that. They want half the money now, and you don't need that. But after you get your contractor, you definitely gonna need a plumber. You're gonna need an electrician. Those are the 3 main things. Now, most electricians do HVAC, things of that nature. Some contractors do roofing and the flooring. So you may need a little more of that, but you're gonna need a plumber, reliable plumber, a reliable electrician, and a reliable contractor. Ask around about people who are reliable. There's a lot of people that do it. Gotcha. But reliable, y'all hear the word? Say it.
Reliable.
And dependable, yeah, and reasonable. But you're gonna pay some money. You're gonna have to pay. You got to pay your guys and treat them right. But you got to. Your teamwork makes your dream work. Your network is your net worth. So people see the pictures and all of the houses. I don't. All the houses that I've remodeled each year, I don't even own a tool set. But I got people in there that's doing it. And so you got to have that team, and it's important that you hire slow and fire quick. It's important that you go by the properties, and business is business. Mm-hmm. And you got to handle it that way, and they're going to know you mean business. And once you start doing a lot of deals and they got a steady paycheck in, they do you right, go get them some Popeye's chicken and some Sprite on Friday. Go drop off the site. Treat them right. Because them guys, if you don't take care, see, the contractor, he's more reasonable. But the guys that work for him, they'll come back later on at night and steal your stuff. So you want to always be cool with the guys that didn't graduate from high school, and you want to give them some pound, and they talk about the latest rap song. Yeah, I know, and Nipsey Hussle had another song. I just Googled that. I don't even know who that is. So you got to relate to them and treat them right and all that, and pay on time. We can give you all these tools today, but if you don't have integrity, it ain't going to work for you. You owe a man, you got to pay a man. And then sometimes when you get to a point, there's some deals. Take the higher road. Hey, this is your last this your paycheck, man. We're gonna get somebody else and be done with it.
Thank you for that. You have
to add to that. Anybody, if somebody's going to work for you and they need money up front, don't use them. Do not use them. That means they don't have any money to finish the job. That means they don't have money if things go wrong.
It don't stop. Yeah.
And if they ain't got a line of credit at Lowe's or Economy of Supply or somewhere else, then don't hire them. Period. But if you don't have that insurance for coverage for a renter, no one can rent your house because of damage. It's going to happen. How many tornadoes we had in Hattiesburg, Mississippi?
I got a good story on that one.
Yeah.
Insurance, you come up on insurance. When there's a storm, I just say, thank you, Jesus. Nobody got killed. But I'm going to tell you what happened now. This is before I got in the ministry. So I just want to put that out there, before the ministry, right? BC, right? Before BM.
For Christ.
The statute of limitation.
Yeah. I think I had like 67 properties, like 2013 or something. And a hailstorm came through Jackson. And I had a Buick LaCrosse. And I walked in the building, and all I heard was boom, 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 boom. I'm like, whoa. And I looked out, it was just ice falling. And so the insurance company came by, they got the dents out of my car. Well, a couple of my houses had some leaks in the roof, right? So I called the insurance guy. He came on down. Now, he was a white guy, cool's a fan. And he had a black girlfriend. Oh, yeah. So? Yeah, hey. Vanilla and chocolate, you know what I'm saying? So they get out the car. I called him down. I said, okay. And this is how I'm talking about being good to people, right? And so he came by and analyzed like 2 or 3 of the properties, and I didn't think none of it. I said, man, I'm going to take y'all out to eat. His girlfriend was vibing with my wife and all that. So we took him to this restaurant. It's a Christian restaurant called Hooters. So we in there, Dre. I said, whatever you like. You can have whatever you like, right? And he was eating wings, and he was getting right, you know what I'm saying? And we in that joke. He said, now, at the very end, I said, man, we enjoyed y'all. He said, man, now, he came for a couple days. He said, now, is there some more damages on your other houses? I'm like, well, I didn't get no calls. He said, well, man, if it was a hailstorm, there's some dents in your roof. You might want to get the others checked. I'm like, I don't know about that. And then something said, ding, ding, ding. He said, call this, and the next morning he said, I'm going to evaluate all the other 65, whatever, right? I'm like, okay, cool. So me and my wife stayed there a couple of days, and every time, we took them out to eat every time, and you can have whatever you like, right? But there was a place in the roof, and it was damage on the roof. And they gave like $4,000 for each one of the houses. I'm like, wow, look at God. Here's my point. When you work on that, building that bridge from the reality island, trying to go to paradise. Now, I didn't even ask for this, but when you do that, I had it on a 5-year note and all that, paying a lot on principal, right? This came through. I wasn't even expecting. Now, I did go take a little trip, but other than that, I paid off the other debt. And then when you get these properties paid off, what you can do, you can stop spending your money and you can leverage these properties to pay for your next deals. Right. So now, and then this is the key to it. Once those properties paid off, I'm going to give you an example, Dre. You might have paid $54, but it's paid off. You're collecting $1,100 in rent. You go to Mr. Tom, it'll pay for $120. He gives you a $100,000 line of credit. You can write that check to any other house you want. You see my point? And you still collecting $1,100 rent. You hitting real estate from all types of stuff.
Y'all don't miss that. Say that one. Say that. That's game. Yeah. Rewind. Say that again.
Well, delayed gratification. You're seeing trees now, right? When the property is paid off, now the property is collateral. That's your monties. So equity is monties.
So the house is paid off.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The line of credit from the bank is 100,000.
Well, yeah, that's okay. Yeah,
100,000.
Yeah.
And you say what to do with that line of credit?
I take that 100,000, right? And if I see another property, I go pay for it cash today. And then when I pay for that house, I go back to him, get my money back for that, and I rinse and repeat. But the thing about it is, I got $100,000 on this house, but I'm also collecting $1,100 per month. That's pimping 101. That's why you delay your gratification.
I hope y'all caught that. You can leave here tomorrow with that game right there. If you have the money and the property paid off and do exactly what he said.
And then you get 5 and then 10 and 20. See my whole thing. Now people start seeing trees, and then that's how God works. That's how you can go from reality island to paradise island to go to your dream. But you got to build the first bridge in order to build the other bridges to other ways and try other things. That's the key to it.
So I want you to think of some questions because I'm getting ready to turn to you, and I want you to ask. But our final thing is this: management. How you select the tenant? How do you know if the tenant is going to pay you on time or not? How you know they're not going to get in your house and tear it up?
Because they on HUD, and HUD pay me all my money.
But does that stop them from tearing the house up, though?
Well, I'm going to give you some more pimping. Here you go right here. If I see 5 ladies tomorrow, and they want to rent my house on Continental, and 5 of them got vouchers. I'm saying, okay, your voucher's valid. Okay, now out of these 5 ladies, who want it? And most of the time, all 5, because they come from Greenbrier Apartments, where I came from. They come from Pineview and all that. You know, so my point, here's my point. And they say they want it. I said, well, in order for you to get my house, I need to see your house. When, Mr. Nelson? Right now. 2 of them said, well, I got to do something and all that. They in file 13. Now, the other 3, I need to see your house right now. Go by there, and one of them may have some clothes. Well, I got clothes everywhere. I ain't worrying about the clothes. I'm worrying about damages, holes, sheetrock, and all that. Then I go to all 3 of them, and then once I go through it, I go through that, do the home visits. Those are the type of people I know going to take care of my house. Why? Because the way their house look today is how your house going to look next year. Yeah. So you know when I go there, the house is clean and in order. Mama run that house. And so that's who I rent to. So that was the biggest application I ever had. I got to see yours before you see mine, because HUD going to pay their months. But I've had somebody in there, and it was over 15,000 repairs one day. She was in a homeless van, and you doing me wrong, renting me, and I rented her, man. It was brand new carpet, everything. You walk 6 months later, we walked in, carpet sticking to your foot. Now, I'm not knocking it, but sometimes people are homeless for a reason. I know it's mental illness and all that, and we want to take care of our people, but what I'm saying is, this is business, and I'm in this for business. That's why I can preach and do all the other things, because I built that bridge here, and I can do what I love. And see, you got to turn your passion into your profession. It's good if I'm out here preaching and all that, but man, if I'm riding a Pinto, you know. So my point is, that's my evaluation process. Now, some people don't use HUD tenants. I'm just, you know, but that's been working for me. There's a million ways to make $1 million in real estate. Find out what fits you.
Catch this. He created financial freedom. He said he's preaching, but what allows him to preach without any restrictions is he got cash flow coming in from his property. So the church at any time decide they want to fire him, he not gonna have no financial freedom. Now don't fire him. But if they decide to,
or Jackson State,
or Jackson State decide, he ain't tripping. Why? Because every month somebody is mailing him a check from one of his properties. And listen, not to count his money real quick, but let me just do some math. Just say he got 10 properties. Just say he got 10. And each one of those tenants is paying him $1,000 a piece. And those 10 properties are paid off. How much money is that? How much money is that? He got 10 properties, right? And each tenant is paying him $1,000 from each of those properties. How much money is that? That's $10,000 a month, right? That he can get up that day and decide, he don't want to get up that day, right? He can do that for 30 days in a row. And at the end of those 30 days, that $10,000 is going to be in his mailbox. Financial freedom, passive income. Right? So now you should have some questions right now. So I'm going to spend about 5 minutes and take some questions from you guys. So you've heard a lot tonight. We talked about the 5 keys. We talked about teams. We talked about all of that. So I want to open the floor and give you guys the opportunity to ask Pastor Nelson and Mr. Tom some questions. He's asked, what was the strategy when you first started?
Right.
Was it to rent or was it to flip?
It was to rent. So when I first got into it, a guy pulled me aside and he was like, man, a rental property in your area will make what? I'm like, well, about $850 a month. And he said, what's the average note in that area? I said, about $300. I'm just joking, you know. He said, well, if it's $850 and you're bringing in, you know, your note is $300, you got $550 cash flow. But he said, let's take off $150 for taxes and all that. He says about $400. He said, but $400 is not a lot of money. But get 10 properties, get 20. So my whole point to all this, my mindset was always residual income. I want to make money in my sleep, not on my feet. And when I read that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I was working doing this, teaching online, had a PhD at Jackson State teaching, and all kind of online universities I was teaching at. And I was doing well, but I'm like, man, how can I make money? How I'm going to these tailgates? These guys got Winnebagos that let out 300-something thousand and all that. Like, what they doing different? They ain't doing what I'm doing.
Right.
And I noticed all the guys were business owners. And one of the guys, it was Coach Pridgeon. I was one of his little tailgates. And me and my son was about this big and all that. And I just got cut from playing football. And I said, man, you know, me and my son ate, here go $50. He said, man, put that little money up. But I asked some guys around and I found out about that. So here's my point, Dozier. What really got to me is one day I was renting out a house. And my mom, we moved from Greenbrier to Glendale. We moved out of the projects, right? And we moved in a house that was painted and neat, had a fenced-in backyard. And I had so many people when I built my house in Canal Place that wanted the house. I'm like, man, why y'all keep calling my phone? It was blowing up. It's a neat 3-1 brick home with a fenced-in backyard. And so I was like, wow. So I gave this HUD tenant a chance. She said, you know, my rent, they're going to pay like $800, and, you know, my part is $200. I want to pay you for 2 years. I'm like, what? And I just, people coming to money, but it was something about this girl with the little baby. And I thought about me coming from Greenbrier. And I let her rent the house. And she started crying. Said, thank you for choosing me. One girl said, I ain't got no HUD voucher. I'm a nurse. And I'm like, I don't want nobody that's a nurse. I want somebody with a voucher. You know what I'm saying? I got a job. I got an education. I want somebody. Because here's my point. The nurse going to move there. And then next 2 years, she going to move to Tim's. And then she want to move to Canebrake. But that person saw that house as an ultimate level. And they really appreciated it. And then I felt like I was helping a little boy that come out of Greenbrier apartment, moving a nice house. I was making some money, but I was helping somebody too.
Wow.
And so for me, that's when I went with the HUD game, because I felt like, okay, I'm doing my passion is to help single mothers, but it also helped me too. And so that's what I've been with that game ever since. Million ways to do this, Airbnb, wholesalers, all that. I want to pitch one thing to you.
If you want to invest and you don't have the money, don't let that stop you.
Because you can be a wholesaler. That means you find a deal and you find a buyer, you in between. You get you $2,000, $3,000, $4,000.
Let me slow you down real quick.
Oh,
Wholesale, because you just do a lot of game out there.
I'm sorry.
And you talked about doing it with no money down. So somebody finds a house.
Yeah.
They put that house under contract. And they can take that contract and sell it to you.
Yeah.
And you'll pay them for that contract
Yeah.
for more than what they have the house under contract for.
When we was talking about building a team, I don't go out and look at a lot of properties like I used to.
Okay.
So I got wholesalers, Bird Dog, they go and look at 30 of them and say, these 4 fit you. Then I go look at the 4. But before then, I was spending a lot of time doing all that. These guys want to make $3,000. The guy that went in Jackson, he want to make $3,000 a cut. Then I had a real estate agent. She's probably making $2,000 or $3,000 a deal. She bringing deals to me. Once you start doing deals gonna start finding you. But they got to find out that you the real deal. People got to separate you from the curious and the serious. You the real deal right now, but nobody know that but you.
Right.
Until they see some action behind that. Same thing with bankers. Bankers call all the time. Hey, man, what you need? I got $1 million over here. And I'm like, wow, I never thought that you called a little boy from Greenbrier Apartments, Bassfield. Like, here you go. Like, when I don't need your money now, that's what bankers do. As soon as they find out that you don't need their money, then they want to give you some money.
That's the truth.
But they know I'm gonna say no, but I'm not gonna take anything unless because of my experience. But there's nothing like experience. So that's why my whole thing is when I did that and I see ladies in Jackson crying, thank you, and I chose them, and I'm like, I'm helping somebody, but I'm helping you after I do your home visit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You gonna cry after I get, see the home visit. So
Hey, y'all, so check this out. That wholesale deal. I'm just going to, real quick. So you find a property. You get somebody to sell you that property. Let's just say it's $30,000. You got it under contract, right? You ain't come out of your pocket with nothing. You just got a contract. You call Mr. Picasso up and say, hey, man, I got this deal for $30,000. But I'm going to sell it to you for $33,000. You're going to be able to make $50 off of it, but I'm going to sell it to you for $33,000. He gonna take that contract and give you $33,000. Well, give the seller 30, and then you get 3 and put in your pocket. And he gonna take the deal, and you didn't come out of pocket with nothing.
Yeah.
Wholesale. Go look it up, right? So real quick, any other questions?
Let me throw one more thing in
Yes,
that.
sir.
If you don't have money, wholesaling can be one. Property management can be another one. You managing properties. So my point is, don't say I don't have the money. You're getting in and learning the game. You're building that first bridge. and then you can bridge off. But don't, because you don't have the money or credit right now, you can get in the game. So that's my whole point.
First thing too, there's a question online. Pros and cons of hard money lenders.
Pros and cons of pimps. Okay. What do a pimp do, right?
Pimp hard.
Here's my point. Know what you're doing before you get a hard money lender. Let me tell you what happened one time, and this helped me out too, though. But I had a guy in Jackson. He got me into some deals, right? The guy that brought me in, brother man, right, ripped me off, right, and he took me to this closing attorney, right, and we was doing some deals. Make a long story short, the hard money lender gave me some money. Just say the property was $30,000. He gave me the $30,000, and I had 90 days to get permanent finance through a bank, sell it, flip it, or whatever. So if you buy it on January the 1st, you got until April 1st, right? Yeah, January, March, and January, February, March. I'm forgetting my days. But anyway, but if you do not sell that property and get some money and pay him all his money, if you do not go get some permanent finance from the bank, then they hit you upside the head. And so what was happening is he gonna get his $3,000. But after those 90 days, and I didn't know how to do the points at the time, it was $1,400 a month. Wow. So April 14, and I'm collecting $750.
Wow.
You see where I'm going with this right here?
But if you are an experienced investor,
You buy the deal, go to my man right there, and then he'll refinance it in 3 weeks. And then they got banks out there. I don't know about his bank, but they'll do an eval. They close in 2.5, 3, so some of them do appraisals. It just depends on the bank. But I do not recommend hard money lenders when you first start out. You need to know your market, and you need to know the properties. You need to know what you're doing, because everything you do, you got to have an exit strategy. So if you do one, what's your exit strategy on the 90 days?
Good. That's good.
When you get married, if it don't work out, I'm just joking.
Boy, you better quit.
Okay, that went in my notes. I'm sorry.
So the hard money
Got an extra
lender,
account over there. She got an extra account.
the hard money lender get you the money fast, but they're gonna charge you ridiculous interest rates.
Ridiculous.
Tom, anything would you want to say about that?
I wish we could earn those kind of rates at the bank, but I mean, you're think about it, say $3,000, only what, 3 months out of the year? That's $12,000 a year. If you analyze that on $30,000, what's the interest rate on that?
Wow.
40%.
Wow.
That's why you delay your gratification and you become your own bank.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you do. Don't depend on other people. You can't do that. When I got cut in 1996, Jeff Fisher called me and said, hey, you made the team. So the next day I'm in the weight room, Dre. I'm in there, got to get in the strength and conditioning coach giving my workout. I'm like, all right. Somebody came in there and said, well, Coach Fisher wants to see you and bring your playbook. And you know what that means when they say, Coach, bring your playbook. So I'm walking in there. And that night I'm dreaming about being with the Houston Oilers and my son and buying mama a house. You know how the dream going. It's going good. I might have went to Bennigan's for a night. Anyway, but that's long story short. So that time, he called me in, and there's a strength and conditioning coach, Steve Watterson, said, no, he's good. I said, no, Coach Fisher said he wanted to see him. I said, no, I was in the meeting, he's good. I said, no, Coach wanted to see him. I'm like, wow. He said, man, So when to go see him, Coach Fisher said, man, we had some extra guys get hurt, and I'm going to release you. But I'm going to send you home, and as soon as they get well, I'm going to bring you back next week or two. So stay in shape. Yes, sir, Coach. Went home, stayed in shape. It's been 27 years. Well, I ain't stayed in shape 27 years. But I ain't got that call yet, right? But I sat in my room with tears in my eyes. Some people say you ain't never cried, but you just tell that to you. That's your story, stick to it. Tears in my eyes that night, like, wow, man, like, this guy was in control of my future.
Wow.
I said right there, the birth of the investor was born. I never let another man control my financial destiny. And I ain't been anti-job, but I always had me another hustle, because people would flip out on you, trip out on you, leave you hanging, make sure you get your money. And I'm not young Dolph, but get paid. You get paid because you don't know how things going to shake out and flake out. If they do shake out, it might hurt your pride, but pride come back.
That's right.
When you sit at home and count them big head hundreds, listen to Johnny Taylor. Somebody like you, you know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, that wasn't in my notes.
Yeah, we got time for one more question. Then we're going to get out of here. One more, any questions? Anybody online, anybody in here? Yes, sir.
I will say this right here now, and this is the only disclaimer. When God give you a vision, when God talk to you, it's not a conference call. So if God spoke to you, but I recommend building that bridge, property management, hard money lender, and keep building bridges to build up to that. Because commercial lending can leave you in a tight spot. But see, you may be a guy that got $2 million. You might can take a chance on $200,000 project. So you got to know who you are and whose you are. That's why I said you got to find your why. You know, I brought some apartment complexes. I thought, well, hey man, it was lovely. You know, I don't really do apartments, but it just fell in my lap. Like deals come my way, and the guy ran short on some money. It was all good. And I'm gonna tell you what happened, man. It was a homeless guy living in there. He was in there for a week, and I was like, man, you know, next week my crew gonna start, so I need you to go ahead. And he was still there. They're still there that Monday. I said, well, man, I need you to go ahead and raise on up. You know what I'm saying? Just, you know, I don't want to go to court. He left, right? But while he stayed there a couple more days, but when he left, he stole all the copper out of the units. Now, I had the right plan, right? But I didn't expect, that's over another $100,000 I wouldn't expect to spend. In this game, there are some sharks in the water. So I'm saying learn the business. Now, had I not been in a position, I jumped out there in some commercial deal, and that happened. And you ain't able, you understand what I'm saying? So you know there's risk going into it and have an exit strategy. So my point being is knowing who you are depends on that right there. But I will say to y'all, and I know you got to go. We didn't talk about the money. Whoever you are, do a PFS, a personal financial statement. Because when you go to my man, he wants to know how are you financially, your debt to income ratio, all those, your assets. That is the most important thing. You don't want to go in the bank half cocked. I want to do a deal. Well, what's your financial statement? I don't know.
When it says zero by cash, we kind of frown on that.
Yeah.
And credit score matters still, believe it or not.
That's your grown folk.
That's your proof of, I take care of my stuff. That means a lot, even when you're buying commercial property and rentals.
Yeah, so man, thank you for that. He called it a grown person's report card. So when you was in school, your mama wanted to see if you made A's and B's. That don't matter now in the real world. They want to know what's your net worth. Everything you own minus everything you owe. And hopefully it's something positive at the bottom. And that's your net worth. Everybody has a net worth. You got one, you got one, you got one, your daddy got one, your mama got one. Everybody got a net worth. And that's very important when you go into the bank. So y'all, that's our time for now. Y'all give our panel a hand. Listen, thank y'all for coming out. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
If you found use in this right here, we would like you to just take a visitor card. Could you raise those up right there? We want to just invite you to service at 9:30. If you found use to it, we ain't asked you to join this program. I ain't asked you for your Social Security number and none of that kind of information. If you found service and to take a visitor card, please show up, invite a friend Sunday at 9:30. Because we want to give back to the community.
It's right here, South 28th Avenue Baptist Church. Come on out.
Thank you.
All across the state of Mississippi, there are people making bad money decisions due to lack of financial understanding, just like LinkedUp's founder Tony A. Reimonenq Jr. used to. It's LinkedUp's mission to offer free money management workshops and 9-week curriculums to students in low to moderate income communities across all 82 Mississippi counties. If you have your own story of financial struggle to financial success and feel a responsibility to help the next generation make better financial decisions, then together we can make Mississippi the wealthiest state in the union. Join our generous donors like Community Bank. Here are 4 ways to give. The Cash App. Handle $, close the wealth gap. Text any amount to 84321. Mail it in to 4010 O'Farrell Street, Suite 120, Hattiesburg, Mississippi 39402. Or linked.churchcenter.com/giving. Thanks in advance for your generosity. All gifts over $25 will receive a free t-shirt.